Constantine Cus D'Amato's story began in Bronx, New York, on January 17, 1908. He was born to Damiano and Elisabetta, hard-working Italian immigrants from a small village called Torito in southern Italy. His father hauled ice and coal through the busy streets with nothing but a horse, a cart, and sheer determination to keep his family afloat. Life was far from easy in that cramped Bronx apartment, where young Cus grew up alongside his brothers Rocco, Jerry, and Tony. As a boy, Cus was drawn to the church. He loved the calm of the chapel, the flicker of candles, and the echo of prayers bouncing off stone walls. For a time, he dreamed of wearing a priest's robe, dedicating his life to God. But destiny had other plans, ones that would take him far from the altar and deep into the fierce, unforgiving world of boxing. Before he ever trained a fighter, Cus laced up his own gloves. He fought as a featherweight and lightweight, hungry to prove himself in the ring. But his dreams of turning pro were crushed after an eye injury from a street fight left him unfit to box professionally. For most men, that might have been the end of the road, but for Cus, it was just a turn in the path. Behind his calm stare was a storm of memories, the harsh beatings from his father, the endless days of struggle. Yet Cus never allowed bitterness to take root. When asked about it years later, he said the pain had shaped him, taught him control, and made him tougher than life itself. "I don't hate my father," he once said. "He made me who I am." And who he was a man built from struggle, shaped by faith, and destined to change the boxing world forever. Before he ever found his champions, Cus D'Amato was just a boy from the Bronx, scarred, unbroken, and quietly preparing for greatness. At just 22 years old, Cus D'Amato took a leap that would define the rest of his life. He opened the Empire Sporting Club at the Gramercy Gym, a place that would become his home, his battlefield, and his temple. Cus didn't just work there, he lived there. The walls echoed with the sounds of skipping ropes, thudding gloves, and his raspy voice teaching discipline, courage, and belief to every kid who walked through the door. But for years, Cus waited for that one fighter who would rise above the rest. He called it waiting for a champion. The trouble was, every time he molded a promising young fighter, powerful managers with deep pockets and shady connections would swoop in and take them away. It was a cruel game, and Cus was fighting it alone. One of those fighters was a fiery Italian-American kid named Rocky Graziano. Cus saw his raw talent early on, trained him, believed in him, only to watch him sign with others and eventually become the middleweight champion of the world. For most people, that kind of betrayal would have been enough to break their spirit. But not Cus. He refused to bow to the politics of boxing, a world he knew was run by men in suits who cared more about money than fighters. Alongside his close friend, the outspoken sportscaster Howard Cosell, Cus went to war against the sport's biggest power, the International Boxing Club of New York. The IBC controlled nearly everything in boxing, and Cus wanted no part of it. Suspicious and unyielding, he wouldn't let his fighters step into a ring tied to their influence. Many thought he was paranoid, but time proved him right. Eventually, the IBC was brought down for breaking antitrust laws, its empire crumbling, just like Cus had always predicted. Through it all, Cus D'Amato remained in that dusty old gym, patient, stubborn, and quietly waiting. He knew one day, his champion would walk through that door. When Floyd Patterson walked into Cus D'Amato's gym, he wasn't a superstar. He was a shy, quiet kid with a gentle heart, the kind of boy who looked more like a choir member than a fighter. But Cus saw something no one else did. He saw a storm hidden behind those soft eyes. Under D'Amato's guidance, that timid boy was transformed into a force of nature. Cus trained him not only to fight, but to think like a fighter, to control fear, to turn doubt into fuel, and to believe in himself completely. The world saw the result in 1952, when Floyd Patterson stood atop the Olympic podium in Helsinki, gold medal around his neck, his smile lighting up the world. Cus had found his champion, but the journey was far from over. After the Olympics, D'Amato carefully guided Patterson through the brutal maze of professional boxing. Step by step, he protected him, nurtured him, and maneuvered him toward destiny, a shot at the world title vacated by the legendary Rocky Marciano. The final test came on November 30th, 1956. Patterson faced the dangerous Archie Moore, a man with power in both hands and experience that stretched across decades. But Cus had built Floyd for this moment, built him to rise above fear. That night, Patterson delivered a masterpiece. In 5 explosive rounds, he knocked out Moore and made history as the youngest world heavyweight champion ever, just 21 years old. He wasn't just a champion. He was a symbol of D'Amato's belief, proof that greatness could come from patience, faith, and an unbreakable bond between teacher and student. But as the years passed, cracks began to form. After back-to-back first-round knockout losses to the brutal Sonny Liston, Patterson's confidence began to fade, and so did Cus' hold over him. The two eventually parted ways, not with hatred, but with quiet sadness. Still, what they built together would never fade. Floyd Patterson's rise from a shy boy to a world champion wasn't just a boxing story. It was the story of Cus D'Amato's dream finally coming true. After Floyd Patterson's rise to glory, Cus D'Amato wasn't done shaping champions. His next masterpiece came in the form of a proud Puerto Rican fighter named José Torres. Torres was disciplined, intelligent, and fiercely determined, the kind of man Cus loved to mold. Under D'Amato's watchful eye, Torres climbed the ranks with calm precision. Then, on a spring night in May 1965 at Madison Square Garden, he faced Willie Pastrana, a slick veteran and future Hall of Famer. That night, Cus watched from ringside as Torres fought like a man possessed. Every jab, every counter, carried the rhythm of D'Amato's teachings. When the final punch landed and Pastrana crumbled, José Torres was crowned the new light heavyweight champion of the world. He became the first Latin American ever to hold that title, and only the third Puerto Rican to become a world champion. It was another dream fulfilled for Cus, another fighter he'd guided to greatness. But time has a way of moving on, even for legends. When Patterson and Torres hung up their gloves, D'Amato faded quietly into the shadows. The fame, the lights, the crowds, all gone. Yet Cus never cared much for the spotlight. What he loved most was teaching, shaping lost souls into something greater. He found his way to the small town of Catskill, New York, where he opened a modest gym, the Catskill Boxing Club. The place smelled of sweat and leather, its walls filled with echoes of old dreams. And it was there that fate knocked on his door again, this time in the form of a troubled kid from Brooklyn named Mike Tyson. Tyson was just a boy from the streets, barely a teenager, sent to a reform school after a string of arrests. He was angry, wild, and dangerous, but inside him burned a spark Cus recognized instantly. It was the same fire he had seen in Patterson and Torres. Introduced by Irish Bobby Stewart, a counselor and former boxer who'd been working with the boy, D'Amato took one look at Tyson and knew this was the one he had been waiting for his whole life. He took Mike under his wing, trained him, taught him discipline, and, when Tyson's mother passed away, even adopted him. Cus became the father the boy never had. Day after day, they worked together in that quiet gym, refining the famous peekaboo style. Hands up, constant movement, relentless power. Teddy Atlas and later Kevin Rooney helped sharpen the young fighter, but it was Cus' mind that shaped him. He didn't just teach Tyson how to fight, he taught him how to believe. Cus D'Amato never lived to see the full fruit of his labor. He passed away just over a year before Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, breaking the very record set by Floyd Patterson decades earlier. But Tyson never forgot. In interviews, in documentaries, and in the quiet moments of reflection, he always spoke of Cus with tears in his eyes. "He was my father," Tyson said. "He believed in me when nobody else did." And that was the legacy of Cus D'Amato, a man who built champions not just with punches and technique, but with love, faith, and the unshakable belief that even the most broken boy could rise to rule the world. Behind every great man stands someone who believes in his purpose. And for Cus D'Amato, that person was Camille Ewald. Their story began back in the 1940s, when fate brought together two people who shared the same quiet strength and compassion for others. Camille had come a long way from her beginnings in Staromishkina, Ukraine. Her family fled hardship, settling in Canada, where she took the name Ewald. She later found her way to New York, and in a Cus life, where their bond would become something far deeper than friendship. Camille and Cus never married, but their connection ran deeper than paper or vows. Together, they built a home that was more than just a house. It was a refuge. Camille turned her doors wide open to the troubled young men Cus brought in from the streets and reform schools. To them, she was Mama Camille, the warm voice at the end of a hard training day, the one who cooked, listened, and cared when the world had given up on them. Cus, meanwhile, lived and breathed boxing. He devoted every waking hour to molding young minds and bodies, boys who came to him broken, angry, or lost. Camille understood him better than anyone. She didn't just stand by, she became part of his mission. Her home became a halfway house for Cus fighters. A place where discipline met comfort, and where second chances were given without judgment. When a young Mike Tyson entered their lives, Camille embraced him as if he were her own son. Cus saw Tyson's future, greatness mixed with danger, and together with Camille, they took legal guardianship over the boy. They wanted to protect him from the vultures that circled the sport, the kind of ruthless men who had tried to rob Cus' other fighters before. In that quiet home in Catskill, Tyson didn't just learn how to fight, he learned what family meant. For decades, Cus and Camille lived side by side, one teaching in the gym, the other keeping the home warm and alive. They shared laughter, dreams, and a purpose that stretched far beyond the boxing ring. Even as Cus grew older, worn down by years of sacrifice, Camille remained by his side, his constant companion through the chaos of life. On November 4th, 1985, at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan, Cus D'Amato's long journey came to an end. He was 77. Camille stayed strong, carrying his memory for many years after. When she finally passed in 2001, she was remembered not just as Cus' partner, but as the heart behind his dream, the woman who helped him build a family from lost boys and turned a small-town gym into a place where legends were born. Even after his death, Cus D'Amato's spirit never left the world of boxing. His teachings, his discipline, and his fierce belief in the power of the human mind continued to echo through the sport. To honor that legacy, the Boxing Writers Association of America created the Cus D'Amato Memorial Award, a tribute to the man who had changed the meaning of mentorship in boxing. The very first recipient was none other than the fighter Cus had believed in most, Mike Tyson. On May 16, 1986, just months after Cus' passing, Tyson stood before the crowd at the group's 61st annual dinner, holding an award that bore his mentor's name. It was a full-circle moment, the student accepting an honor born from the teacher's legacy. For those who knew their story, it was more than just an award ceremony. It was a living symbol of what Cus had dedicated his life to, turning broken boys into world champions. But Cus' influence stretched far beyond America's shores. Decades later, from October 26 to November 4, 2017, an international online marathon titled Science of Victory was held in his memory. It wasn't just a tribute. It was a deep exploration of his philosophy, the way he turned fear into power, discipline into confidence, and fighters into thinkers. Journalists, trainers, and boxers from across the globe, from Russia, Ukraine, Italy, Spain, Germany, and the US, came together to celebrate his genius. Names like Silvio Bronco, Patrizio Oliva, Dr. Antonio Gracefo, Avi Nardia, and Gordon Marino all took part. The event also highlighted Non-Compromise Pendulum, a book by Tom Patty and Dr. Oleg Maltsev, which dissected D'Amato's one-of-a-kind training system, a method that had shaped legends and continues to inspire coaches to this day. Even decades after his passing, Cus D'Amato's name still stands tall, not just in the record books, but in the hearts of those who understand what he truly gave the world. The science of victory, born from the soul of a teacher who never stopped believing in his fighters.